Hi everyone, this is Priya Vashne and I welcome you all to the new session. In this video, we are going to cover Aristotle's theory of constitution, right? So, here is the most important statement from his theory of constitution, that is, polity is the best practicable form of government. So, in the whole video, we will try to analyze his Aristotle's theory of constitution, and we will try to see that how Aristotle proves that polity is the best practicable form of government. But before that, please remind yourself that what is the core idea basis which Aristotle is devising various theories. The core idea of Aristotle is the idea of golden mean, right? So one thing you should be clear of, that when if Aristotle is saying that polity is the best practicable form of government, then polity should be the golden mean of the Aristotle. Is it clear? Okay. So why this theory is important? See, the importance of this theory can be determined from the fact that Aristotle is known as the father of political science majorly because of this theory, right? So this is one of the most important theory because of which Aristotle got the title, that is the father of political science, right? Now you will ask me, why is it so? See, what is political science? What is political science? What is the core idea which we study in political science? The core idea which we study in political science is the state, right? So we all know that political science begins and ends with the state, right? Now, so Aristotle has actually given the book the Politics, right? The name of the book is the Politics. So in his book Politics, what he has given is, he has given the concept of state, constitution, their types, revolution, etc. Right? So because he has covered all the concepts which are related to the state, therefore he is actually known as the father of political science. And in his theory of constitution, what he is trying to give is, he is trying to reach to the conclusion that what kind of government or what kind of constitution is best for the citizens. Is it clear? Since that constitution, or you can say, you can actually take constitution, government as synonym while we talk in this while we talk about the Aristotle's theory. Is it clear to you? Okay. So before again going in his theory, let us just compare Aristotle's book Politics with the Plato's book Republic, right? So, sorry, Aristotle, sorry. So, the Plato's Republic can be called as the encyclopedia. I'm sorry, encyclopedia, right? Why it can be called as an encyclopedia? Because Plato does not deal, or this book does not deal with a single subject, right? It deals with multiple subjects. For example, it is also talking about education, right? It is also talking about ethics. It also talked about philosophy. It also talked about sociology, literature, etc., etc. So this book was not written for a single thing. This book was kind of encyclopedia. But if you talk about the politics of Aristotle, then this book deals with the core issues of the state, as I have already told you as well. Right? This book deals with the core issues of the state. Therefore, this book can be treated as the first textbook first textbook in the discipline of political science, and hence he is rightly called as the father of political science. Is it clear? Okay, next. Now, what is the basis, right? What is the basis of Aristotle's theory and the Plato's theory? Now, what kind of Plato? See, we all have studied Plato's theories. Now, what was the base of Plato's theory? The base of Plato's theory was an idea. An idea was nothing but an imagination, right? It was nothing but an imagination. Whereas what Aristotle's theory is based upon, his theory is based upon the observations of real constitutions. Now, what do I mean by this? See, Aristotle has studied almost 158 constitutions which were there at that time, and after studying those 158 constitutions, he tried to classify the forms of government, and then again, as the very approaches, he tried to find out the cons of each of the approach, pros of each of the approach, and then again he tried to find his golden mean. So if I compare the approach of Aristotle and the approach of Plato, then Plato's approach was kind of, you can say, idealistic, or you can say imaginative, because his concepts were based on an imagination. Whereas Aristotle's theory was based on his observation of the real constitutions. It was the result of his analysis, comparisons, classification, etc. Therefore, his concept or his methodology can be called as more scientific or proto science. This is the keyword, you can take a note of it, right? Or proto science. Is it clear to you? Okay, now what are the salient features of his theory? First of all, first thing you should keep in your mind is that he does not make any difference between the term constitution, state, and government. So he has interchangeably used these terms. So this is something you have to keep in mind while reading Aristotle. Is it clear? Now, what important thing he has given is he has given the classification of government. As I have said just now, that he has not made any difference between government, constitution, and state. So you can also say that this is the classification of constitution, or this is the classification of state. Is it clear? Okay. Now, how he is categorizing the types of governments, or type of constitutions, or type of states? He says, first of all, he is actually forming this kind of matrix, right? In this matrix there are two, you can say, parameters. Number one is that in whose interest these people are working, or this constitution is working, or this state is working, right? So if the state is working in public interest, or if it is working in its self interest, or the selfish interest, right? First parameter. Second parameter which he has written this side of the matrix is, he is saying that how many people are forming that kind of government. For example, there can be one person, there can be few persons, or there can be many persons. Is it clear? Okay. Now, let us go through this matrix one by one. First of all, let us talk about monarchy. So, just remember the theory of Plato's philosopher king. That was nothing but a kind of monarchy, right? Where one person is the ruler and other persons were just following him. They did not even get the chance to question the decisions of the philosopher king, right? What Aristotle says is, monarchy, or the rule of philosopher king, this is the best. This is the best, but not the best practicable. Why? Because he says that its practical form is tyranny. Because what happens is when you concentrate all the powers in a single person, right? When you concentrate all the powers in the single person, then there are huge chances of getting that person corrupt. Why? Because power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Right. So this is how what Aristotle is saying, that though monarchy is the best form of government, but it is not the best practicable form of government because it ultimately turns into tyranny, because power corrupts and absolute powers corrupts absolutely. So this is how he's saying is that the rule which was in the public interest gets turned into the selfish interest, because tyranny is something which is in the self interest. Is it clear? Okay. Second second he talks about when few persons are ruling a state, or a kind of or are ruling a state, right? Or few persons are forming a government. So what he says is, first is the aristocracy, when some rich people come together and they form the government. So when those rich people are coming together and forming the government, that is for the public interest, because they are rich, they have the capacity to serve the interests of the poor. But what happens is it is again not practicable, because it actually turns into oligarchy, which is in the self interest or selfish interest and not in the interest of public. So this is again something which is not acceptable. Now, before talking about this constitutional democracy, let us talk about the democracy. So what Aristotle says that democracy is the second worst form of government. Right? What he says is, democracy is what? Democracy is the rule of so many ignorant powers. Right? Rule of many ignorant. Sorry, um, I just don't have space to write here. So what he's saying is that democracy is the rule of so many ignorant powers. So what happens is when there is a democracy form of government, then it leads to the emergence of demagogic leaders. Right? Now what these leaders do is they actually fool the public, and then they again establish the tyranny. Right? And this tyranny is the worst form of government. Now just notice here that democracy was the second worst form of government, and worst form of government was the tyranny. Okay. Now, so as we have seen everything, and these five options are out now, what we are left with is this constitutional democracy. This is what Aristotle is calling as polity. So at the starting of this video, we have studied his statement that polity is the best practicable form of government, because according to Aristotle, this is the golden mean. Now we will understand that why polity is the golden mean. But before that, please understand that polity is the rule of many, but not so many. But not so many, which means it is the rule of middle class. It is the rule of middle class. So democracy was the rule of ignorant poor, so many ignorant poors, while polity is the rule of middle class. This is something you need to keep in your mind, how Aristotle is trying to devise his theory of constitution. Okay, now let us just quickly see the cycle of change in the constitutions which Aristotle is trying to explain. So what he says is, first of all, he says that monarchy is best, but somehow it is not best practicable. It actually turns into tyranny, which is the worst form of government, right? Then he says that okay, after tyranny, it comes the aristocracy, right? It actually converts into aristocracy. Aristocracy is what? Rule of few rich, you can say, right? This was in the public interest, but what happens is with time, it actually converts into oligarchy, which is again not in the public interest, it is in the self interest. Then he says is that polity polity is something which is the golden mean, which is what? This is the rule of many but not so many. Is it clear? Then when the system again corrupts, it actually converts into democracy, which is the rule of many ignorant poor, and this actually leads to the demagogic leaders, which actually try to fool poor, and this system again turns into tyranny, or you can say then there comes some great power who tries to control it, but actually it turns into tyranny. Is it clear? Which is the and he also calls this as the second worst form of government. Is this clear to you? Okay. Okay. So now it's time to understand why Aristotle is calling polity as the golden mean. So Aristotle says that polity is the golden mean of oligarchy and democracy. Now, what was democracy? Democracy was the rule of so many ignorant poors, right? What was oligarchy? Oligarchy was the rule of few, right? Rule of few, but it was again in the self interest. And this was actually the few rich, you can say. Here poor, here rich. But both are in self interest, right? Now, what we actually want, we want a kind of government which will work in the public interest. So obviously these two are the extremes. So what he says is that polity is something where number one, though many people are involved, but not so many. Plus, this is the rule of middle class. When I say middle class, it means they are not poor, they are not very, very rich. Right? Now, now, now try to understand that why Aristotle is saying that polity is the moderation. So, what he has said that it is the rule of rich but not extremely rich, because middle class people have money, right? They they are rich but not so much rich, but they are also not very poor, right? As well as this is a rule in which this is the rule of many but not so many. Now let us try to understand that why he is focusing or he is trying to emphasize upon the rule of the middle class. Why he is saying that rule of middle class is better. In order to understand this, just what logic or what you can say argument Aristotle gives is, let us talk about rich and poor. So what Aristotle says is they both are susceptible to doing crimes, or they both are susceptible to crimes. Why? He says that rich will commit crimes out of their arrogance, while poor will commit crimes because of his ignorance. Right? Why? And rich people will not trust poor, while poor people, while poor people will also not trust rich, right? Hence, either of the rule, yani neither the rule of rich, neither the rule of poor is stable. because we want a stable form of government, right? Only then other things can happen. Otherwise, that will only, if we form an unstable government, it will only leads to problems, right? So Aristotle is trying to figure out the stable solution, stable form of government. So what he says is that both rich and poor are susceptible to commit crimes. Rich will commit crimes out of their ignorance, while poor will commit crime out of their arrogance, and rich poor will commit crimes because of their ignorance. Therefore, rich will never trust poor, poor will never trust rich. Now, what is the solution? Now, the solution lies in the middle class. Why? Therefore, he says that middle class will actually lead to stability. Right? This his rule will its rule will lead to stability. He also gives example of many great lawgivers. For example, Solon. He says that because he also belonged to the middle class. So what he says is, what Aristotle says is that what happens is middle class possess reasons. They possess common sense, right? Since they are not very rich, they are not arrogant. Plus, since they are not very poor, they are not ignorant as well. Therefore, they actually possess reasons, and this, or you can say common sense, which is actually required to form a stable form of government. Is it clear? So, this is how Aristotle is proving that polity, which is nothing but the rule of middle class, as per Aristotle, is the best practicable form of government. I hope you have understood this his theory. So let me just rewind everything to you. Whatever we have gone through this video. So first of all, we have understood that why Aristotle is. Let me just. So let me just revise you. So first of all, we have understood that why Aristotle is known as the father of political science, right? Father of political science. Then we have seen a comparison between Plato's Republic and his Aristotle's politics, right? And Aristotle politics. Then what we have seen the basis on which Aristotle and Plato has given their various theories, where idea was the basis for Plato's theory, whereas his analysis and study of various of almost 158 constitution was the basis for Aristotle's theory, right? Then we have seen the salient features of the constitutions of the theory of constitution, where he has actually classified different forms of government. Then we have seen the pros and cons of every form of government, and then we have seen that how Aristotle proves that quality is the golden mean. Is it clear? So this is all in this video. I hope you have understood this concept. If you have any queries in this concept, you can directly ask your questions in the comment section. And if you like this video, then please share and subscribe to our channel. I'll try my best to improve a lot, or to improve a lot in these videos. And if you have any suggestions that how I can improve, then please drop them in the comment box. Thanks a lot. Take care. See you in the next video.